It really is. These are extraordinary times, and for people who have been through lockdown and repeated lockdowns, it's been so difficult. And then trying to get that balance right between dealing with public health, extraordinary public health situation, and keeping the economy going or trying to get tourism revived. It's really extraordinarily difficult.
Yeah, so what are the main obstacles in the way of tourism getting back to normal?
Well, we've never had a shutdown like this for a global tourism system, so the difficulties have to do with managing public health, and we're finding some very good approaches, particularly in Europe, with things like the digital COVID certificate, which is going to enable European-wide travel, trying to get mass vaccinations out, and then measures with dealing with possibilities of difficulties, so using contact tracing and so on. But the system has actually been run down. So for instance, our aviation system now is in disarray because planes have been put in storage basically because our aviation circuits are all shut down. The cruise industry has been absolutely crippled by these events and is just now trying to wind back up. So it's extraordinarily difficult to ramp up things again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big obstacles, as you mentioned, is the potential spreading of coronavirus and variants of it. And it has countries in this sort of limbo of loosening and then tightening restrictions. We've seen a lot of that in Europe around the Delta variant at the moment. Is there a danger of people losing all confidence in any holiday that they book?
Well, people who are more worried and careful are going to find it very difficult, and it will probably be a couple of years before we see confidence in travel occurring again. There will be those who are adventuresome and won't worry about these difficulties and will be flexible. But, you know, following stereotypes, that tends to be the young. And in some countries, we're not seeing the vaccine rolled out quickly to the young. It's the elderly and the people with health problems who are getting the vaccinations first. So there's also that aspect to getting things rolling again. I know that a lot of young people are really not used to this lack of freedom that they're experiencing, and they're really chomping at the bit to get out and experience travel. So yes, it's amazing how we're having to be patient. We're having to wait and see how things unfold. And I've just learned in the news today that some Israelis who were vaccinated have caught COVID. So we don't know how the various vaccinations are going to provide immunity, for how long, all of those things. So there's a lot of moving parts to this difficulty that we're in. And the use of travel bubbles or travel circuits is one way that we're getting tourism, travel, accommodations and all of that going again. So Europe will definitely be one of the cases of seeing how things go and how we can get things successful again.
Yeah. You mentioned about how some people are just desperate to get out there and travel again. Is there a flip side to that? And that there are maybe now people who have taken a liking to traveling within the countries in which they already live, and that international tourism may not get back to the position that it was before?
Well, it would seem that we're in an era of really profound change, and I don't think the travel we knew before will come back the way it was before. We took cheap travel for granted, and we thought that we could go anywhere we wanted, you know, just on whims and for very inexpensive, very easy sort of holidays. And it's likely that travel will be more expensive. For the next few years, it's probably not going to be as convenient because there won't be so many routes to travel or so many ease of scheduling to happen. And we have to be ready, for instance, for things like quarantine measures to be put in place for perhaps another year or so. So those difficulties are likely to remain. We will see, I think, the term I would use is a localization of travel, a narrowing of travel circuits, and even people wanting to know their home countries. You know, sometimes we take our home country for granted and we want to travel to other places for the difference, for the exoticism, and so on.
Sure.
So I think that we will find this more narrow circuits.
All right. Freya Higgins-Dubiol from University of South Australia. Thanks for joining us on the COVID-19 special.
Thank you so much.
And now it's the part of the programme where we put one of your questions to our science correspondent.